Welcome to the channel. So it's been a while since we posted a video. This is my sister, designer, stager. You guys know me, longtime real estate agent and rehabber. But we are dealing with a lot of wildfires in Southern California right now, and we have some interesting information that we'd like to share. So we're going to go ahead and look at a news clip and give you our thoughts on it.
It goes beyond what the naked eye can see. It's the emotional toll buried in these smoldering ashes.
This photo.
That's your street.
Yeah, that's our house. That was our house.
A lifetime of memories gone.
Embers coming off.
Tens of thousands of evacuees now suddenly without a home, desperate for shelter, sparking a real estate frenzy.
I've spent $8,000 already on Airbnbs.
Oh, wow.
Longtime Altadena resident Erica Lee, along with her husband and 7-year-old son, lost their home in the devastating Eaton fire.
It's been terrible. We've been bouncing from Airbnb to Airbnb, and we're looking for a place to rent, but everyone else is too.
We met them as they were touring homes for rent.
How many listings have you lost out on?
At least 5.
5?
At least.
What happened?
They just say that they're already taken, or the one that changed the rent on us last minute, we couldn't afford that anymore.
And just like thousands of others, they desperately need a single-family home as they sort through insurance.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. I mean, and I think we may have a little bit of a difference of opinion on this, but the tragedy, like in itself, for everyone to lose, all these people to lose everything, and then you have the added tragedy of not being able to find a place to live that you can afford in Los Angeles because you have people raising prices and just a ton of people looking. So I think
it's already hard enough that California is just overly priced to begin with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, having this many people displaced, like the lady was saying, would she go through 5 Airbnbs? Airbnbs?
She said she said she missed out on 5 like potential rentals.
It sounded like she was bouncing between Airbnb and Airbnb because she needs somewhere to go.
Yeah.
But missed out on 5 purchases.
Rentals.
Oh, rentals. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a disastrous couple years realistically, because we're lacking supply. Not only were we in a supply and demand issue, but the supply and demand issue just got that much worse.
Yeah.
So now we have people price gouging, taking advantage of the people who have lost everything. I think they have the mindset that the people are rich.
I agree with you. I think there's ultimately two problems. Lack of options in general. Like even if the price was right, there's just not enough. There's not enough available homes in the surrounding areas to house the people who are displaced. The second issue is the price gouging.
Right.
And just owners, right, landlords trying to take advantage of the situation. And I think that people in California, but I want to say specifically outside of California, I think it's easy to say like, well, the Palisades is this rich community, they can afford it. And
it is a wealthy community. Like it's a very well-off community, but it's also a community for your average person and your average family. Like I know a friend who lost it all, and they were living in a like a manufactured home, like in a community that was all manufactured.
Yeah.
And that's not high end by any means. So those are the people that also lost housing. And I feel like they're going to be the ones that are more displaced and struggle than the person who has more liquidity, more assets available, and just are a little bit better off.
Yeah, because there's some people who inherited homes, right?
Yeah.
And didn't have a mortgage to pay and were getting by on maybe lower incomes to stay in these homes that were in their families for years or whatever the case may be. So, but I feel like regardless of how much money these people made or had or didn't have, it's still a horrible situation to lose your home and everything in it and everything that you had or built. And then where do you go from here? And I think especially maybe people with small kids, family with small kids, they're gonna leave and they're not gonna come back. Like, who's gonna wait? No one's, if you cannot find a home close enough to your kids' existing school district or your community that no longer exists, if you can't find a home close enough to that area to kind of keep some sort of normalcy, you're like, I can't wait around for 2 or 3 years to see what happens, or how much money the insurance company is going to give us, or what we can afford to do with this money.
Right.
I think a lot of people are going to leave.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't go back. Like, I wouldn't go back. Like, there's just no way. It's going to take forever to rebuild. And I'd have to look at the statistic, but there's a statistic that after so many years, you upgrade your home, or you sell a home, or you buy a new home. So how many of these people are just going to be like, I don't want to do this. It's just easier to buy another home.
Yeah.
And relocate and just be like, I'm done with this. And then if they rebuild, who's to say this won't happen again?
Well, yeah, that was something else I was going to touch on. Like, I saw an interview of a woman, and it was just heartbreaking, right? She was being interviewed on the news and saying that we just finished rebuilding after the Wosley fire.
Yeah.
And to think, wow, you just got your life back. You just rebuilt your home, and then it was taken from you again in such a, tragic way. It's like, yeah, why would you want to? Also, some of the things I've been seeing on the news is like how our homes are built here in these areas versus how they are built in other areas that are prone to natural disasters. And, we use wood where other places are using concrete.
California is not prepared.
Yeah, other materials that are that can withstand some of these natural disasters and these elements. And so you get the money, you build the home back to maybe close to what it was, for it to be burned down again. And then the question is, hey, would the insurance money cover to build a home to withstand the next natural disaster?
Right.
But then even if you could and your neighbors could not, then what? Your house is the last man standing, and do you stay in that community if disaster strikes again?
I don't know. I don't know.
This
whole thing's crazy.
There's so many questions, and I just really feel for these families to try and navigate this and try and figure out, where they can live and what they can afford. And then you have the second part of the problem, which is, people price gouging and raising the prices because they can.
Right.
But then, something you and I were kind of discussing the other day is like, that's kind of real estate.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's as someone who rehabs houses, I'm looking for the best possible deal, but I always disclose what I'm doing. So in real estate, that's like one of the first things you're taught: disclose. And I'm working as an entity trying to acquire a home from an individual or a family. I'm definitely looking for the best possible price, right? Now, I'm not taking advantage of people if I disclose what I'm doing, as long as they agree to sell me the house for a set price, depending on the circumstances. I can either be labeled as a snake because I'm taking advantage of someone, or I can be labeled as a saint because I'm helping someone out of a situation. There's always going to be this like extreme opposites when it comes to one, me being a rehabber, and then two, like Alicia said, people taking advantage of people. And I could definitely tell you, I would not personally feel comfortable approaching anyone who's lost a home and trying to buy their property. Like, that's an ethical, like a personal and ethical thing for me. I just feel like that's the lowest of the low.
I'm sure some people have already started.
Yeah, like I've seen that on other news, but we could touch on that topic later. But yeah, it just sucks. Like when there's a supply and demand issue, because that's what it comes down to, you're always going to have people trying to take advantage of somebody. And it's just kind of the nature of the game. It's not specific to real estate. It's just opportunistic, right? People are opportunists. When we're hungry, we got to eat. When we need money, we got to make it. And it's just how it happens.
Oh, I think, you know, in the same clip, I think, like further on in this news clip, which we can show, you know, people who have the means are offering themselves to pay more in order to get it. So then what does that what does that mean for the people who do not have the means, right?
And this is a perfect segue into inflation. So Alicia and I had a conversation yesterday talking about, oh, that house there sold for X amount over asking price. And that's a perfect example of how an area can go from affordable to unobtainable. Because if an area is selling in the $600,000, $700,000 range, and you have one of these displaced individuals who's well off with cash, willing to buy a home for 900 grand, it's set a new high threshold for the area, because an appraiser, a lender is going to use that as a comparable sale. So what was going for 700 has now increased $200,000, and we saw a lot of this in the pandemic, like a few years back, where people were just outbidding everybody, paying cash. And this is it's not an accurate depiction of what a home's worth. It's just an unrealistic market. And sadly, the market has been like this for a very long time. Like, a lot of you guys probably just can't even afford a house right now. Like me included. Can't afford a house right now. And it's just tough. You know, this is a market, something's got to give. But as far as California goes, I don't see anything giving anytime soon based on the lack of inventory we now have. So, no, that's it. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think time will tell, but I do think a lot of families are gonna move if they can and
get out of California.
Yeah, they're not gonna
follow me.
Get out of California. I think people are not gonna come back, you know, and it's one of those things, just to kind of piggyback on what Daniel said. You know, in our current situation, our family's outgrowing our home, and it begs the question is like, what can we afford? And we're seeing similar situations on our own block, you know, where a house sold for $50,000 over what it appraised for, because too many people wanted that house, and they were willing to come up and come out of pocket and do that. So then it begs the questions like, well, what can we do? We need something bigger. And do we stay and add on and make do with what we have? Because what could we afford otherwise, the way things are currently going? Or do we have to leave?
And the cost of construction is just going to like skyrocket.
Oh, don't say that.
So we went by a friend's house today that I'm helping get a block wall up, and like the price per linear foot is quite substantially higher than 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, we did a comparison of what I paid 4 5 years ago, and it was like almost doubled.
Yeah, the cost of construction is just doubling and tripling, and now we're just going to have a lack of material and a lack of labor and a lack of manpower to push all of this through. But I think this video has gone on long enough, so we'll touch on other topics soon. If you guys want to hear our thoughts on anything else, let us know. Designer, stager, rehabber, realtor. Hopefully we can help you out if you have questions. So see you next time.
Bye.